Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish series stars. I can feel the excitement buzzing through the screen, because today we're diving into a mystery that fans whisper about, replaying clips and zooming into moments as if they're treasure maps, the subtle language, the charged silences, and the maybe more than friendship connection between Akın and Ebru. If you've ever watched two people share a glance that seems to freeze time, if you've ever sensed a quiet promise hiding in a half-smile, then you already know why we're here. We're about to decode the signals that make hearts race and comment sections explode. Before we step into the shadows where sparks flicker and secrets breathe, make sure you're subscribed and the bell is on, because you won't want to miss a single heartbeat of our next deep dives. Now, let's set the stage. Imagine the cameras, the lights, the choreography of a set where every movement has purpose. Imagine that behind the lines they deliver and the scenes they conquer, something softer hums beneath the surface, an understanding that doesn't need rehearsal. Akın and Ebru have worked in worlds where destiny feels written in starlight, where love and fate play a game of hide and seek. And yet, even when the director yells cut, there are moments that feel uncut, unfiltered, and raw. That's where whispers begin. That's where a glance becomes a paragraph and a touch becomes a chapter. Start with the eyes, because the eyes write what the lips won't say. Watch the way they meet in the middle of chaos, on a crowded set, in a press line, during a behind-the-scenes laugh, and somehow everything else falls away. There's the held gaze that stretches a second too long, the quick look down, the swift recovery, as if they've both remembered they're not alone. It's the kind of gaze that says stay without uttering a sound. And you can almost see it, a silent "I've got you" exchanged when a scene runs hot or an interview takes a sharp turn. Those are the moments people rewatch, the ones fans clip and share, arguing frame by frame that there's more than professional polish glimmering in their eyes. Then there are the gestures, those tiny rebellions against caution. We're not talking about scripted embraces or the choreographed spins of a dance. We're talking about instinct. A steadying palm at the small of the back when the stage edge looms close. Fingers that brush in passing and take a half-second longer to separate. A hand reaching up to fix a strand of hair, a micro-adjustment that doesn't need to happen but somehow always does. If Akın's hand hovers near Ebru's elbow when the crowd thickens, if Ebru's shoulder angles toward him in a way that claims a pocket of space just for two, these are not random. They are habits of care, small rituals that bloom out of familiarity, telling a story of closeness even when the microphones can't capture a single word. Words, of course, betray us. Words pretend to be ordinary while smuggling our hearts across the border. In interviews, you'll hear compliments dressed as professionalism that nevertheless glow with warmth, how she grounds a scene like gravity, how he lifts a sequence with quiet grit. How her timing is a secret instrument and his focus a shelter when storms rage. It's the banter that feels too effortless, the teasing that isn't sharp but soft, the kind that lets you know each knows where the other's edge is and refuses to push past it. The phrases are simple, but the subtext rings, only you would catch that cue, only you could calm that chaos, only you understand how to find the heartbeat of a moment. But it isn't just them, watch the room. Sometimes the chorus reveals the melody. Colleagues glance between them and bite down smiles. A makeup artist balances a brush and raises her brows like she's seen everything and still finds this new. A publicist clears a throat right when their laughter drifts into shared air, as if trying to herd stray butterflies back into the jar. Crew members throw looks that say we noticed, but we're not saying. That subtle hush that follows when they enter together, then the temperature shift as if every light was dialed warmer by a single click, is the kind of atmosphere you can't choreograph. And when a co-star jokes, you two share one brain, the room erupts with easy laughter, but the line hangs around like a ribbon of perfume. Coincidences love a good romance, even a secret one. They arrive like friendly conspirators, the same elevator 3 floors apart that somehow opens at just the right time. The unexpected pairing at a panel where their chairs end up touching at the corners, rain that sends both hurrying under one awning, a brief shelter that looks like a scene someone forgot to write. On long days, their schedules align in suspicious ways. One emerges from rehearsal just as the other passes with a thermos, warm hands offering something stronger than tea. Destiny? Logistics? Maybe both. But either way, the world seems to nudge them closer, as though fate can't resist playing matchmaker when the cameras aren't looking. The true giveaway lives in vulnerability. That's where walls lower and secrets learn to breathe. Picture an interview where Akın is asked a question that could have landed heavy. He pauses, chooses sincerity over spin, and the room pauses with him. Ebru jumps in. Not to rescue, but to reflect, to turn the question into something gentle, to praise the quiet perseverance in his process. Then, later, he folds the spotlight back to her, speaking not of fame but of resilience, not of glamour but of grit, honoring the long hours and the unglamorous discipline that keeps brilliance burning. These are not declarations that tabloids can paste into headlines. They are the slow weaving of trust, of safe spaces built in plain sight. And then, the details? The little anchors that hold the ship steady when waves rise. He knows her preference for tea over coffee, when she likes honey and when she doesn't. She remembers how he stretches his hands before a heavy scene, that tiny flex that helps him leave everything on the floor and still walk away whole. He spots the faint scar that only shows up in certain light and treats it as a story rather than a flaw. She notices when he is seconds away from retreating inward and finds a way to make him laugh before the shutters close. These things aren't shouted, they're honored. They exist where intimacy lives, not in spectacle, but in noticing. So why the secrecy? Because the world is loud, and love, especially in its tender beginnings, needs quiet to grow. There are careers to protect, narratives to steer, brands to respect, expectations to juggle. There is the promise to the audience to keep the work first, to let the craft be the headline. There is the fear that the magic might be blamed on gossip instead of skill, or that a private bond might be used as a lever for public frenzy. Sometimes secrecy isn't a game, it's a sanctuary. It's a mutual pact to keep a garden behind a locked gate until the flowers are strong enough to face the wind. Of course, obstacles make the story richer and more dangerous. The press wants to tag everything, define everything, sell everything. Fans are relentless detectives, magnifying the dust on a sleeve into proof, decoding playlists and captions like hieroglyphs. Add to that the weight of personal histories, the roads each has walked alone, the mentors who counsel caution, the family members who advise patience, and the very human fear that if you name a miracle too loudly, it might vanish. Secret romances aren't born out of deceit. They're nurtured by hope that a sacred thing can remain unspoiled long enough to become real. When you trace the arc of their interactions, a pattern emerges. Time and again, they choose kindness over spectacle, steadiness over stunts, and presence over performance. Watch how often they choose to listen when they could jump in, how often they let the other finish a thought, how their smiles soften at the edges when the other one speaks. Those small sacrifices of attention. Those gifts of time in a world that steals it, are love's fingerprints. You don't need a ring light to see them, you need patience and the willingness to let silence tell its tale. And then there are the nights no one sees, the invisible minutes between public moments. Maybe there's a script sent late that sparks a midnight exchange about subtext and choices. Maybe there's a message that says I know you have an early call. Get some rest, sent in the language of two people who respect the engine that drives the art. Maybe there's a shared playlist traded in pieces, song by song, a soundtrack built not for the world but for two pairs of headphones and a handful of stolen commutes. Not everything has to be cinematic to be real. Sometimes the realest things are the ones that would look like nothing to anyone else. Which brings us back to you, the watchers, the believers in electricity that can't be faked. You point out the micro-expressions, the breath caught mid-sentence, the way a shoulder lifts when one enters the frame. You've mapped out timelines, aligned interviews, caught echoes between behind-the-scenes footage and live appearances. And while we'll never claim certainty, we honor the line between reading and inventing. We also honor that human intuition is a compass honed by millennia of understanding hearts. If a room feels warmer when two people are in it, it probably is. There's beauty in the not knowing. There's a sweetness in the maybe that lets you fall in love with possibility over and over again. Whether what we're sensing is a romance blooming quietly or a friendship so deep it masquerades as one, the effect is the same. It gives us hope. It reminds us that connection is real and rare and worthy of gentle hands. It whispers that trust can build a bridge and that two people can share a language only they completely understand, even while the world watches and judges and asks for more than either is ready to give. So today we've walked through the clues. The weighted looks, the protective hands, the words that glow when the other is near, the chorus of knowing smiles, the coincidental alignments that feel like fate moonlighting as logistics, the vulnerable confessions that slip past armor, and the tiny, deliberate acts of attention that stitch a private world. String them together and you get a tapestry that feels like a promise written in thread, not ink. It's not proof, it's poetry. And sometimes poetry carries more truth than 1,000 shouted declarations. If you've felt it too, you're not alone. If you've found yourself pausing a clip because a glance stole the air from your chest, if you've smiled at a backstage moment that radiated comfort, you're part of this quiet chorus. Keep your eyes soft and your heart kinder than the headlines. If Akın Akinozu and Ebru are crafting something delicate and real, it will reveal itself when it's ready. If what they share is a friendship forged in the fire of long days and high stakes, then that, too, is a kind of love worth celebrating. Thank you for sinking into this with me, for letting the hush settle and the possibilities speak. Tell me what you've noticed, the glances you can't forget, the gestures you swear meant more, the phrases that sounded like secrets in disguise. Drop your thoughts below so we can keep reading between the lines together. If this journey made your heart beat a little faster, hit like, share it with someone who loves a good mystery, and make sure you're subscribed to Turkish series stars. We'll be here, watching the spaces between the scenes, waiting for the next spark to light the dark and show us what's truly there.